Welcome to the Asia Dating Podcast, where we talk about dating in Asia with Asian girls and how to get them, how to date them, how to have relationships with them, how to have dirty sex with them, and all sorts of other fun stuff. I have with me today
McConnell
and
Kane.
There we go. Yeah, Kane didn't want to say his name, but I made him say your name, bitch. Say your name.
Next time, we should all say our names Red Pill Q.
Okay. So yeah, today we're going to talk about pickup, because we always talk about pickup at least a little bit, and we're going to talk about relationship management because we've realized that most people have a lot of problems with this, and especially if they're dating multiple people, whether it's a girl dating multiple guys, whether it's a guy dating multiple girls, they really get this wrong. In fact, we could even talk about a certain Taiwanese suite that's in Canada at the moment.
We could.
That would also be another topic that we could discuss when it comes to relationship management.
It's like this, yo. This is 10% luck, 20% skill, 15% concentrated power of will, 5% pleasure, 50% pain, and 100% reason to remember the name.
So anyway, first, why don't we talk about what pickup is? Because a lot of people don't even really seem to know what it is these days. At least that's what I would say. I don't know. Do you think that's true, Kane?
I guess it is. I guess it's a crime called street harassment.
Yeah, some people think it is a crime called street harassment. But what they don't know is that you can also do it in the club or in the bookstore, and then it's bookstore harassment, I guess.
Unless the chick likes you, and if she likes you, then it's romantic.
Exactly.
And it's a movie.
So, yeah, which is clearly that's one of the biggest problems with any of this stuff. But anyway, let's talk about what pickup is and what it's about. People all used to know because they all read the book The Game way back in the day when it first came out. It was a super popular book. Everybody knew about it. And these days people don't read it or don't read full stop.
They read models.
Wow. Do they?
I don't know. I think more people talk about that book than they talk about The Game now, right?
Would you agree with that, Kane?
Yeah, I guess that's true, but that's because Neil Strauss isn't active anywhere promoting The Game, whereas Mark Manson's pumping out articles every week.
Right. Okay, so what would you say pickup is, McConnell? You were to describe pickup in one word or less. No.
Or less. One word? Fun.
Yeah, no, but really just go ahead.
Oh, I think we did this on one of the last podcasts.
Did we?
Yeah, we did actually. We went through. I just finished editing it, so.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, we may have recorded this months or maybe even years ago. So
maybe even years ago.
But yeah, we did talk about this in one of the recent ones I edited. So maybe we can go back and find which one that was and
just splice it in and then just end the entire episode right there.
Yeah, that sounds pretty good.
Oh, okay. Well, I didn't realize. Okay. Well, anyway, since McConnell doesn't want to talk about what pickup is.
No, we can talk about it. I was just saying that that for people listening to this, they might have just already heard that.
Oh, okay. Well,
I would say the same thing that I said last time, which is that pickup is a set of tools.
Yeah. I do remember this now.
Told you.
Oh,
yeah.
All right. Well, I guess we're not going to talk about that.
My definition isn't going to change unless you actually want me to define it in one word or less.
Well, I'd like to see you on the or less.
Yeah, pretty good challenge. For those who don't know, I love or less.
Okay, well then in that case, let's just move on to the relationship management stuff and kind of some of the relationship management and getting along with other people in general. So, what are we going to call? What do we call her? HB works a lot. How about that?
Okay, sure.
Is that? Do you have another better name?
Yeah, I mean that one. That's
HB Crush All Men would be good.
Crush All Men, or maybe we could call her HB Quickie.
That's pretty good, actually.
HB Quickie.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Okay. And actually, why don't we talk about that? let's talk about that. Let's talk about girls who are like that.
See, Red Folk, he was getting all excited about all the things he could talk about now. He was worried. He was like, well, we can't just talk about this one topic.
This is the topic I originally suggested.
Yeah. Anyway, so let's talk about that.
Okay, let's talk about that. So it's really interesting for the three of us when we hear about other people's sex lives, because from my perspective, like 90% of people when they have their sex life doesn't involve what I would call sex. So this girl, HB Quickie, she pretty much didn't really do foreplay. Yeah, and she just wanted you to not you, me. Well, not just me. To just stick it in and pound away. And
a lot of people like this, apparently. Like a lot of people, I think a lot of guys don't know that you can do other things. And I think a lot of Western girls like this. Enjoy this. Well,
you're the expert on Western girls.
Actually, even the dude was saying that one of the girls who answered his ad, or one of the ads he answered.
Can you maybe tell quickly who the dude is?
How do you
in one word or less?
Yeah. Scumbag. Anyway, he actually, the way he would define himself in one word or less is pervert.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah. So anyway, the dude is
that's right. When I had that girl with me, and she was wearing that Santa outfit with knee-high leather boots, high-heeled boots. And we went over to his office. I don't remember exactly.
Kane, if you were here right now, Red Folk Q has a skeezy look on his face.
And the Santa outfit. So this is very common in Japan. In Christmas time, girls will wear little Santa outfits with knee-high leather boots. So they look like little elves. Partially that's because they can get into the clubs for free, and partially it's just because Japanese are a lot of fun like that. So anyway, she was dressed like that, and she had it was really short, so just barely going past her hips. And so we're at his office, and I was talking to him about something business related. Anyway, you don't really. Yeah, I mean, anyway, his business is usually related to sex in some way. So we were talking about business probably, but we were talking about sex as well.
Yeah.
And he said to her, turn up, stand up and turn around. I know I'm a pervert. I want to see something like that. It was just really funny.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's a good idea. That gives you a good idea. And the other thing that what he was talking about, what was this ad for exactly?
It was I don't know if he posted it or.
Oh yeah, he is, because he's doing the recruiting.
Well, I know, but he also answers other ads.
Oh, I see.
So he will post ads on the internet on Japanese, job boards and stuff.
Well, not job boards.
Well, maybe because he's doing recruiting.
Right? Yeah, maybe.
So, I mean, who knows? Anyway, on Japanese adult advertising properties. On the
Okay.
And he both posts ads to be the performer in a trio. So it'll usually be a couple and him, a couple will invite him to come to the
right. He's the bull.
Yeah.
So he Japanese husbands, I guess, sometimes like to see somebody else play with their toys. I guess something like that.
Well, apparently a lot of American guys too.
Oh,
remember we just heard a story. I just told you.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So.
Right. But apparently you have to be in the military for that.
Maybe. Yeah. Okay. So, so he posts these ads and he responds to other couples' ads where they're looking for a third guy. And one time he responded to an ad and the girl emailed him and she said, I'm looking for a guy who can jackhammer for 30 minutes straight. And he said, well, I don't know if I could do that, but I'll try. And then she gave him a report card at the end and she said, oh, I'm sorry. You were very good with foreplay, but it wasn't what I was looking for. I really needed the 30 minutes of jackhammering, and you got maybe a C+. Oh
something. Man, wow.
Yeah, but she said, don't worry because most guys can't do it. It's maybe 10%.
Interesting.
All the,
so is this a challenge that we can all sign up for?
Well, you have to talk to the dude.
Oh.
And, it's
So-
on our list to have the dude on as a guest, by the way.
Yeah. Kane and McConnell, you guys interested in a little friendly competition?
Jackhammer competition?
Are you going to jackhammer McConnell for 30 minutes?
No, that we don't.
I'm not down for that.
I know you're not here in the studio, Kane, but we don't do that. I don't know who you've been hanging out with in Shanghai, but that's
No,
not
apparently.
what we do. No, I meant, we could all try and hit up this girl and
I know.
do the jackhammer contest. So
How do you say jackhammer in Japanese?
I have no idea.
Jackhammer.
No,
They probably use like a
They-
two-word
yeah,
thing
they-
for the sound of like.
Yeah, maybe. Let me think about that for a second. I don't think Japanese girls are particularly into that, so it's not really a thing. The closest like rough sex, they say they call it Rambo for Rambo. Yeah. Yeah, they do. Like if you grab a girl and like you pick her up and like throw her on the bed and like just rip off her clothes and bang her, she'll be like say like you did it like Rambo.
She'll be like,
Yeah.
"Orewa Rambo daisuki."
Vision would really like that.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, he wants to be associated with Rambo.
Yeah.
Maybe during the fashion consult for him, did you suggest any bandanas for him? I mean, headbands.
I didn't know him well enough at the time, or else I
Isaac.
would have.
Okay. So
Yeah.
I guess next time you see him,
If I had a time machine and I could go back and redo a fashion consult with Vision, I would just dress him up like Rambo. And when he asked if that's really fashion, I would tell him yes. And just to see what.
I mean, if you think about it, I mean, we all the cool guys wear like those headbands. Rambo,
that scumbag we saw last night.
right? The scumbag we saw last night. Daniel from Karate Kid,
That's true.
and oh man, Chuck Norris.
Yeah.
See, so
Man.
clearly we need to be right.
Anyway, back on topic. So apparently I was saying, also
right.
there's Japanese girls who apparently like the jackhammer.
Yeah, maybe only if they've been married for a while.
So when was the last time you just stuck it in and pounded away? Look at that face.
I don't.
Kaney's making the face.
The disrespectful face.
Yeah, the disrespectful face.
I don't. I don't really. I don't really do that.
Yeah.
I mean, I think.
Would you care to tell the viewers or the listeners why you don't do that?
I just think it's boring. Yeah, I just think it's boring. Like if you just stick it in and just it's just boring. So it's not very interesting. I mean, I think that for me, good sex has a lot more elements to it. Also, I want to guarantee that the girl has a good time. And I know there's a lot of people who think that what gives girls a good time is a hard pounding, but
there's a lot of girls who think that too, like the HB Quickie.
Right.
Right?
They think that, but that's just because they don't know better. It's like the kids who like their favorite food is like hot dogs and hamburgers. It's like, it's not really their favorite food. They just don't know any better. So yeah. Anyway, so that's why was I thinking about this? Didn't we recently have somebody else who was talking about this? The hard pounding.
Well, there's lots of people we run into who are fans of the hard pounding.
Oh, right. So yeah. So what's really funny is that guys, this is what they do. Oh, right. Because I just taught the sex seminar. That's why I was thinking about this. Right. Because Red Pill Philosopher
Right.
was talking about how that's how he has had sex previously. And
also Shinshock used to do that too.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
He tried to get his leg up for the maximum.
Yeah, I think that this is something else, right? Porn is like a real problem. It gives people this idea that that's what sex is supposed to look like.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's one way that sex can look. I mean, there's nothing, I'm not saying don't do that or eliminate that. I'm just saying it's only one thing to do. Yeah.
So
when
most girls watch porn, they're like, what is this? When HB Quickie watches porn, she's like, they're so good. How did they get this good?
I think the main advantage to the hard pounding, I guess, if you're a girl, is that if that's all you want guys to do, then it kind of doesn't matter who you fuck.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, that's definitely true.
Apparently it does, though, because...
Well, I mean, obviously it's better if he's hot. right? Because I mean, if he's hot, then you're getting hard pounded by a hot guy rather than just somebody lame.
I have no idea.
So so it's interesting because there's this thing when when you look at on the internet and stuff these days, they always, maybe we talked about this, about there's the orgasm deficit. Have you seen these?
Yeah.
Right. There's like all these studies about how why aren't women having orgasms on their one night stands? Like, this is some fucking mystery.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, there's this orgasm deficit. It's like, oh, and 90% of the time, guys have orgasms when they bang a random girl on the first date. But for girls, it's only like 30%. And, they only are able to like have, orgasms consistently with like a regular partner. And it's like, people have known this for thousands of years. But apparently
the difference is that Genghis Khan just didn't care.
Yeah, that's right.
McConnell, I take offense at your slighting of Genghis Khan's good name. Maybe he was a considerate and dedicated lover to thousands of women.
Well, I didn't say that he wasn't.
I think he was pretty dedicated. I mean, if you're going to wipe out a whole bitch's family, I mean, that's pretty dedicated. I mean, you don't do that lightly. I wouldn't do that lightly. I don't know about gang. I mean, maybe it's one of those things like the first time it was pretty rough, but McConnell's shaking his head over there. I think he thinks we should cut this out.
No, let's roll with it.
Yeah. I love a good Genghis. People are Googling Genghis Khan. They're like, who are they talking about?
Which PUA was that? Is that on Usenet? Like,
that's true. We don't have. There's no guy, no guy named Genghis Khan.
He certainly did have a nice routine stack. I mean, it worked, I guess.
My name to Genghis Khan.
What was that, Kane?
Maybe I should change my name to Genghis Khan.
Maybe you should change your name to
Kane Vast Khan.
Khan Vast. All right. So anyway, I just think so there's this orgasm deficit thing, right? And and they're like trying to figure out about this because the theory is that girls should be able to have random sex and have a lot of fun with that. And and I guess some girls actually have figured out how to have a great time with random dudes, right, McConnell?
That's certainly true.
And I'm
glad they've figured out that technology.
Right, and technology seems to be what it takes.
Yeah, absolutely.
So so for a girl to really enjoy a hard pounding from a random dude, it seems that what's really required more than anything is a vibrator
or digital stimulation.
Oh, right. She can do it herself.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So if a hoe is lazy, then, she can use the vibrator. But if she wants to work it a little bit, she can use her fingers, right?
Yeah. Seems so.
So Kane, do you what's your position on girls touching themselves during sex with you?
It's fine.
Oh, interesting. So you just let them do it, like whatever. If they just start, banging, finger,
like,
clit. What do you call that? Oh, flicking their own bean. Then you just let them do it.
Yes, I mean it depends on the position. If you are smashing them from behind, then them doing a reach around and rubbing their clitoris would be totally fine. It's kind of hot in some ways, right? If they're touching themselves, engaging in the sexual aspect.
So okay, and what about you, McConnell?
It really depends on the situation, because I think there's
if you're filming it, then
I think there's varying degrees of this. Like, I think for me the biggest thing is how disconnected the girl is. Like, if she's like totally not engaging with me at all, then it's a problem.
What do you mean by that? Like, sorry, go ahead, Kane.
I was going to say, for this, I'm assuming that she isn't doing that at all. I'm assuming that she's like totally engaged, because that's like,
yeah, if she's totally engaged with me, then it's not a problem really. But the problem is that usually when girls do that, it's an indication that they're not really like present with you. in the experience. And that's the problem. It's not like that, you know, the finger or the fingers on the clit. That's like a symptom of the problem, I guess.
Uh-huh. And what about if it's a vibrator? Has that only happened to you that one time?
What drives a woman to toys? Yeah, I mean, not good.
Well, you know, we know a guy who that's how his wife always did it. Were you there for that, Kane?
Yeah, I remember, yeah.
Were you there for that, Kane?
I don't think so.
You don't think so? You okay. Well, you know, one of the guys, his wife used to always use a vibrator on herself. And then, you know, he would like bang her in various positions. I guess he would like suck on her tits a bit, bang her in various positions. And then like he would like bust it. And then she would just keep using the vibrator on herself.
Oh, that sounds.
And he would just be like laying there. So it's no surprise that didn't go very well, you know, with that relationship didn't go very well. So for me, I generally only, I only let girls touch themselves if they ask permission first. So if they like reach for the clit, I'll just
red folk you. I'm not into that stuff, that dominant submission stuff.
Well,
I'm not into that. You guys are all scumbags. You like to do that, the BDSM stuff. I'm a grown man.
Well, I mean,
mature adult.
This is different. This is the dominant.
I will say that some of the kinkiest ideas that I've
Some of the
like he came up with them.
Unwashed filth.
Yeah, exactly. And and you should see like when he gives me sex ideas sometimes, like the look on his face is just so incredibly skeezy. Well, he's so proud of himself for coming up with some
the reason I'm so proud of myself is because you know how low my openness is. I've like got zero creativity. So whenever I do come up with something, you know, it's pretty special.
Yeah, anyone who's listening to this who hasn't taken the Big 5 personality test,
yeah,
it's probably worth doing because I guess we reference it kind of often.
Yeah, we probably do. So you can go to like, oh yeah, that's right. Well, yeah, and we mention it quite frequently on this. So anyway, you can go to understandmyself.com. We don't get any money for you doing that, by the way.
It's not the first time Pick Up Asia hasn't gotten any money for doing something. And it won't be the last.
Pick Up Asia, we get money sometimes.
Yeah.
But you should definitely go and do that. So you know, one of the things is called openness, and openness is about creativity and
imagination.
Yeah, that's one of the aspects, and mine is like super low, which is probably why I didn't enjoy that movie that I watched the other day. I saw this movie by this Spanish filmmaker named Almodovar. He's very famous, and his movies are always super, super weird. And well, I don't know. I kind of want to talk about it, but I don't know if I should because you know I don't want to spoil
kind of off topic.
it.
So I think we should. But
anyway, okay. But there's this movie called "The Skin I Live In." Okay, and if you are this is a you know, instead of taking the Understand Myself test to figure out your openness, go and watch this movie. And if you enjoy it, your openness is definitely really high. And if you're just like, what the fuck is that? Then you know you're more like me. So yeah.
But anyway, he is very imaginative in terms of his, to quote 50 Shades of Grey, kinky fuckery.
Is that in 50 Shades of Grey?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So right. So yeah. So permission, right? If generally speaking, in my case, if a girl like tries to touch herself in the middle of sex with me, then you know generally I'll like, you know, kind of slap her hand out of the way or something. And then if she like tries, I'll like say, well, you have to ask me first, or I'll just say like later. Because the thing is that from my perspective, the clitoral touching is like a booster. So it's like she can have like orgasms without that. I mean, she should be able to if you've done everything else properly. Then she should be able to have orgasms without that. But even if she can't, presumably you've given her some orgasms during foreplay. And so once you've given her some orgasms during foreplay,
you're saying presumably, but a lot of guys don't do that.
Right. But that's right, which is exactly why I said presumably. So they can understand that that's the way that they're supposed to be doing it. And you know, if they're not doing that, it's like, you know. sometimes we were just talking about this. You know, me and McConnell. I was talking to him about Kane, one of our clients. He has sex with girls without giving them orgasms. You don't, you remember I messaged you about this because I was like really confused. You remember?
Yeah, you mentioned this like what, a week or two ago?
Right. Or yeah, maybe. No, I think it was anyway, yeah, you're right. And I was just really confused about like that. Because I don't really think I'd be able to bang girls like again. I don't think they would come back.
Yeah, I remember also being very confused at this situation.
But yeah, so apparently, you know, a lot of guys think that. Oh, and you were talking about another two guys that you know, and they didn't believe that girls have orgasms like every time, right?
Yeah, they honestly thought that girls only have orgasms maybe once every 4 or 5 times of having sex, and that it's like not possible for girls to have multiple orgasms. And they were like dumbfounded and sort of outraged that this wasn't the truth. When I was like dumbfounded and outraged that they believed this was the truth.
Right, because I mean, even Jordan Peterson knows that girls have multiple orgasms.
I mean, everybody knows, and anyone who doesn't is joking.
Well, you'd think that, but I mean, apparently there's some people out there. So anyway, so yeah, so that's kind of, so the way that so that's why, like, I don't want them to like go, you know, because I'm one of those people. Okay. I don't know. I'm one of those people who I always save the best like stuff for last. So like, for example, if I'm in Japan and I'm eating sushi, because that's the only place where I eat sushi, then then, you know, the stuff I like the most, I like that's the stuff that I eat at the end. I save it. So, you know, so it's kind of the same thing. So I don't want her just reaching down and touching the clit early. It's like, you know, save that for later. So that's the way I look at it.
Okay.
I don't know. I've never had this problem of like girls having sex with me and not being engaged. I think I'm not hot enough, unlike McConnell over here.
Yeah, but I don't usually have that problem if I like off cold approach though.
Right.
So
Right. Off cold approach. Right.
yeah.
Okay, great. So we were talking about HB Quickie, right? Okay. So she has a lot of very odd notions about people. Yeah. Very odd notions about people. And, you know, one of them is that, you know, one of them was that she didn't meet any good guys, and she banged like 30 guys in 3 years. And she was like, I didn't meet any good guys. And I was like, well, I'm sure at least one of those 30 guys was a good guy. He probably just, you know, didn't really. And she had this weird idea, which, you know, so she met most of these guys off of Tinder, right? And, you know, we've gone on and on about Tinder before, but, you know, it causes some real problems for women because they end up banging a bunch of dudes that a lot of times they end up banging a bunch of dudes that are essentially out of their league, let's say. And on top of that, you know, girls tend not to have a lot of patience, right? So, you know, if they like bang a guy and the guy, so this is, I guess, more specific to like Asian girls, because Western girls are often looking for like friends with benefits and that sort of thing, right?
I have no idea.
Oh, okay. Well, I at least it's seen in the movies and on TV. You know, there's this idea that like sometimes girls in the West, they're like, you know, they're busy with their careers or they're busy studying or something, so they don't have time for a boyfriend. But you know, they need to like get some action, so they just want to have like friends with benefits, right? So, and at least certainly a lot of guys think this about Western girls. Anyway, so girls in Asian girls generally they're more used to what Asian guys do, which is basically beg to be their boyfriend. So when they sleep with a guy and the guy is being really casual and chill, they just think, oh, he's not serious and he never could be. And they don't have this idea that, you know, they could work, put in some effort and then, you know, win him over eventually. which I just find very lazy. That's not actually, that's not really true of Asian girls. I guess that's more specific for Taiwan.
I'm a little bit confused. Maybe you need to clarify what you're talking about
Maybe you can clarify what I'm talking about.
Well, I don't really know, but it seems like you just said something you just said something that I'm going to try to unpack. You basically said girls don't really put in effort to try and lock a guy down.
Yeah, that's true. Sorry, in Taiwan.
Yeah.
In Taiwan, that's very true. That's not true in Korea and Japan.
So I think you need
sorry. And I was trying to say that that's more true of Taiwan than it is of Japan and Korea. In Japan and Korea, girls definitely, if the girls will put in effort to try and lock a guy down.
And I would say that's even true in other Asian countries, not just Korea and Japan, but also in even like Thailand and the Philippines, it seems, like Southeast Asian countries, the girls will put in effort to lock, a high quality guy down.
Right.
And what do you think, Kane? China too?
The girls put in effort proportional to the guy's value level, proportionate to the amount of those guys they have.
Oh, right. Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
That seems pretty fair.
Right.
I think that's about the same in all the countries it happens in.
Right. So anyway, so HB Quickie is Taiwanese.
Yeah. So what he was trying to say earlier that didn't really come out so well was that in Taiwan, our experience has been that girls won't necessarily put a lot of effort in to lock a guy down, even when he seems relatively high quality.
Right. In fact, I mean, it seems like they don't really know how to put in effort.
Yeah, there was, I think I maybe mentioned this on another podcast somewhere. I've definitely mentioned this in some Pick Up Asia thing somewhere, but there was a Taiwanese variety show, like a talk show. And there was a Taiwanese guy who was dating a Japanese girl.
Oh yeah.
And they were like interviewing him about what it was like dating a Japanese girl. And he was like, oh, it's amazing. She like cooks dinner and she like cleans the house. And everyone, like all the Taiwanese people, I think they were like, what, really? They couldn't believe that a girl would actually do these things for the guy. And he was like, oh yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah.
So, that's just a little bit of an indication of what it's like here or how it's different from other parts of Asia.
So with HB Quickie, because she has like a lot of very odd notions about relationships and about other people. She we often have like kind of life conversations. And so one of the things that we were talking about is basically in a chat message. She was complaining about, I don't know exactly, but anyway, what I said to her is I said, when you think about yourself, it's always best to assume you can do better, right? So whatever it is you're trying to accomplish, whether it's, some life thing in terms of maybe being more diligent, being more persistent, being better at some skill, whether it's, sales or marketing or writing or playing music or doing podcasts or whatever it might be, taking pictures, editing photos, building up your Instagram account, whatever it is, you should always assume that you can do better. So you always should assume, okay, there are ways for me to improve. However, when you think about other people, you should assume that they are doing the best they can with the resources that they have available to them. So the reason to do this differently in terms of how you look at yourself and how you look at others is because what often happens is if you don't think that other people are doing the best they can, then you will interact with them in a way where it's kind of clear that you look down on them, and that doesn't inspire them to do better. So so that's a really important idea to have. I mean, especially in your relationships, whether it's business relationships, whether it's someone you're dating, whether it's kids even, right? You think about like we were at this Chinese restaurant today, and there was this kid there, and he was like talking about lots of random stuff. And I mean, when you look at like a kid, I mean, he's like 9 or whatever. He's like, he can't like pronounce words well. He like can't use, utensils well. I mean, he can't like do anything really, right? Right?
Yeah, that's a very accurate description of what we saw.
And, and you could just be like, stupid fucking kid. Like he's a fucking idiot. We just toss him to the wolves. But it's best to assume, if you assume that he has the capacity that he's maxing out his capacity, he just doesn't have the resources, then, you'll be more patient and you'll give him more time, which, is good. Cause there's a long way between like 9 and 19. And, so anyway, do you guys go ahead, Kane? What was that?
And thank God for that.
Yeah. So, do you have some comments about maybe how you have, how this has helped you in your own relationships in terms of, thinking differently about your own capacity and other people's?
You're asking me or McConnell?
I'm asking both of you. This is a 2-for-1.
Kane, you go first.
McConnell, you go first.
I'll go first if you want me to go first. Yeah, I think this is like a big thing, especially with, I don't know about Asian guys, but especially with Western guys. A lot of Western guys, in my experience, just because we work with mostly Western guys, and I don't know if that's just like a selection bias or whatever, but I think a lot of those guys, they assume when they meet a girl that like how she is when they meet her is the way she'll always be.
Oh, yeah.
And they don't actually see that, girls are, they can be influenced just like, anyone can be influenced.
Right.
And it's kind of weird that they think about their relationships this way, because usually people who are in the world of pickup at least believe in self-improvement for themselves. Right. And the whole concept of self-improvement is that you're not static, that you're like a dynamic person and you can change things about yourself and you can, train yourself to be better. Right. So it's kind of weird that a lot of these guys assume that the girls they meet are just that the way they are when they meet them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that's, a big mistake, because, I think what guys really should be looking for when they meet girls is the girl's openness to be influenced in a lot of, to be positively influenced.
Yeah. I mean, and part of that is that, most people, they aren't where they want to be. They're not thinking, I want to be a retard. Like, I just love that. They have like, they want to do better or be better or have a better life situation. And, it's pretty typical. They just don't know like how they could get there. They don't have people around them who can show them or who can maybe even encourage them to do better or to be better. What about you, Kane? Did you have some examples of this? I mean, you do a lot to influence the girls in your life.
So just to put the question again clearly, because it's done a lot of talking, how do I believe that self-improvement is useful for girls, and the guys should keep that in mind so they can not get caught on judging people for their bad things, but focus on practically what they can do and that they're probably doing.
Well, that, and also there's another element, which is that if you think that people are doing the best that they can with what they have, then you can help them. Then that frame of mind helps to support them in moving towards improving.
Yeah, so I think that is a good frame of mind, and I think lots of people probably struggle to hold it because it's easy to take whatever people do personally. I do think that, it's probably especially important in Asia because you have girls that are probably, I guess, more narrowly capable, maybe, because there's not such a strong focus on them, like just doing some sort of job and like being their entire thing.
Mm-hmm.
So, it can be like frustrating at times because you have people that you want to be better at something, but you do have to kind of look for the good qualities and keep those in mind.
Mm-hmm.
It's a hard question to answer because I'm mainly thinking of girls I dated that I thought were useless, and then there were some things that they were good at, but it really came down to me, I guess, facilitating them in that way to do those things. So, for example, with what's a good name? With one of them, it doesn't matter. She was studying marketing, I guess, which is pretty useless. everything. And then I figured that she could actually cook really good fish. So getting her to cook fish was a better move than getting her to do most other things, but I don't really like fish, so oh, it's too tempting to me. So yeah.
Yeah, but actually, I want to go back to that thing you said earlier about facilitating, right? Because I think that's the point, right? That's kind of the most important thing, is that when you're talking about facilitating, what you're basically doing is providing them with sort of resources that they didn't have previously that will help them to move forward in life, right?
Sure. I mean, especially if you're older than the girl or more experienced in some ways, because you come from like a broader life experience, then yeah, you're in quite a good position to help them unlock a higher power level, so they can go Super Saiyan.
Yeah. So I think that is really the point, is that when you look at other people, especially, you should consider kind of their situation and what the constraints are that are imposed by their situation, because a lot of times that situation that they're in is what is limiting them. And when you're dealing with them, and this could be whether you're dating someone, this could be whether you have someone who's working for you, right? I mean, actually, this is because you were just talking about this right before, right? When you were saying that,
yeah.
Right? So maybe you want to explain about that a little bit briefly.
Yeah, I was just talking about how I recently hired somebody to do some work for me, and I was talking about how, like, recently their performance wasn't really that good. And I said, well, I need to set aside some time to talk to them about their performance, and not just about their performance, but about what's going on in their life, because, I really don't have any idea of what constraints they're working under, or like what might be stressing them out, or what other problems there could be that I just don't know about. Because a lot of people just assume that if something's not getting done the way they want it to get done, that the problem is entirely, is just like the person's being lazy, or the person's not capable enough, or, whatever. And most of the time that's not true. Actually, it's, you're just kind of ignoring all of these other things that could possibly be a problem. And I think Vision recently had this problem with one of his employees. Remember, he was like, oh, he's just slacking off.
Yeah, he's just playing video games.
Yeah, and I was thinking about that today, and this guy was definitely not playing video games, but Vision was very convinced that he must be, because he wasn't performing at a certain level. But really, it was just his he just had like an incorrect view of the situation.
Right.
And that's because he was kind of cutting off all these other possibilities, or, not really assembling a full picture. And I think that's like the key part, which is what you were talking about, is you have to assemble a clear, big picture of what's going on with other people. Mm-hmm. And you can't just assume that they can perform at the same level that you can, or that you would in that situation.
Right. Now, however, when it's about yourself, you should, of course, think you shouldn't be as soft on yourself essentially as you are on others. With yourself, you really should
be a hard pounding.
It's one way to put it.
Yeah, you could. I think you could. Yeah, you could definitely put it that way. I think that's probably what McConnell thinks he needs to do to himself.
Yeah, Mr. Right also.
Oh yeah, that's right. But yeah, I mean, because, with yourself, you have a lot more control over your situation. You know everything. You know more about you than anybody else. So you have all of the levers available to you. And it may be that whatever resources you need, you have to go and find them. But at least you can be out looking instead of just, liking XXXXX on Instagram. Fair. Right. Yeah. So, and she's just a hot Japanese girl, but, there's lots of guys who seem to spend an inordinate amount of time just scrolling through Instagram, looking at pictures of hot girls instead of, doing something that's useful.
Yeah.
Like looking at hot girl. Wait, on Tinder. Wait, hot girl. Tinder. Wait, what? Oh, anyway. Okay, so yeah, I don't have anything more to talk about with that. But actually, I want to say something else.
I don't have anything more to talk about except this other long tangent I'm going to go on.
Because it's really important in the world of pickup, right? Because actually, this is something I think that's changed recently. So one of the things that was really cool when I learned pickup originally was I was like, oh man, there's all this stuff that I could do so that I would be better with girls. And it was like, I could change the way I thought about them. I could change the way I thought about myself. I could, talk about different topics. I could use different types. I could use different voice tonalities. I could change my body language. I could change the stories I told. I could change the jokes I made. I could change the type of dates that I ran. I mean, there was just so much to change. I was like, this is great. This is awesome. Because before I knew about pickup, it was like, well, I'm me. So, I mean, it's not really working, but I guess, I'm me. So that's why it's not working. And I was definitely right about that.
Yeah. And I think there's something to be said, the more tools that you're aware of, or the more strategies and tactics and, approaches you have to solving a problem, in this case, the problem of getting girls, the better you're going to do. Cause the smaller your toolkit is, you just have less resources. Right. So I think this is a big problem when people, they are anti-terminology or they're anti-structure in pickup. And it's well, that's one way to think about it. Another way to think about it is that, they're just tools and you can use them or not, but at least if you're aware of them and actually what they're supposed to do, then you can use them.
Right. Okay, then let's,
how far are we into the podcast, by the way?
Oh,
that was a long set of tangents.
I have no idea. There's no way to tell.
Really? I didn't set a timer. So
yeah. Okay. So let's talk about The Rock. Shall we?
Why not?
So a lot of guys have never dated multiple. Is that true? Do most guys not date multiple women?
I think it's probably more common now because of online dating.
Oh, yeah.
Probably.
The access has become easier.
Right. The access makes it so that those dating experiences are more discreet. Whereas
sex has become cheaper.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, because I think if you read old pickup material, it's this idea of dating multiple women is kind of new.
Right.
Whereas I think now it's not so much.
Right. Okay, so there's a lot of so people who haven't dated multiple people. This could be girls dating multiple guys. This could be guys dating multiple girls. And in some respects,
there's a lot of girls who date multiple guys, by the way. And I think girls, they have this outlook that guys are just players and they're just trying to date all these girls. And it's it's totally the same with plenty of women.
Yeah, but with girls, it's different because I don't want anything serious right now.
Yeah,
it's not because they're just hungry for more
every romance movie ever where she has two guys and they're both amazing for different reasons.
Right, and they both only want to be with her.
Right, exactly.
I bet my golden-haired princess that Danny approached in Chengdu doesn't date multiple guys. Pure and perfect.
Yeah, that's right. I'm sure she's a one-man woman.
He was about to say a one-dick girl. Wow.
Well, I've got a question for you. If a girl doesn't go on dates with other guys but just accepts expensive gifts from them, is she dating multiple guys?
Good question.
But she doesn't go on dates with him. Remember Mr. Balls Deep was talking about what was that?
Called a smart prostitute.
A smart prostitute. So remember Mr. Balls Deep was talking about that girl that she had this guy who would take her on dates and buy her designer bags, and then he would drop her off at his dorm, and then she'd call him and he would go over and bang her.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yep. Well, I don't know what to say.
Do you remember that?
Nope.
Oh, really? Oh, I'm missing out.
Yeah. But anyway, I think there's a name for that category of girl, the ones who just accept gifts and don't have sex with, or don't go on dates with guys.
What is it?
Live streamer. Right? I mean, makes sense. Internet celebrity, I guess.
Yeah, Instagram girl.
Probably live streaming more so because it's like built around the idea of gifting things.
Right. And there's that kind of more direct interaction. Yeah.
But no dating required.
No dating required, right? Wow.
Actually, it's pretty interesting to think about it this way, but live streaming is kind of like broadcast dating. Like Instagram is like broadcast messaging or broadcast social media.
Right.
And it's like one to many.
Right.
And live streaming is like the one to many dating equivalent.
No, that's true. I never really thought about that. That's pretty interesting.
I just thought of that now.
And you used to do that.
Yeah.
Wow. Look at that.
I know.
We have a live streamer in our midst.
Yeah.
And actually, Kane, you're supposed to be doing live streaming, right?
Supposed to, I guess.
Don't get all excited about having lots of fans.
I don't think. Yeah. Anyway.
All right, so let's get back on topic again if we actually want to talk about the
dating multiple. Yeah. So this is some of the stuff I'm going to mention is relevant for girls too. The thing is that the reason why people think that guys are the scumbags and girls are not is because, and this is something really important as a guy to understand. Girls don't have to understand this, of course, but guys have to understand this. If you're a guy and you are dating multiple women, you have to understand that if you have all right, let's just say girl A and girl B. If you have girl A and girl B, it's always in girl B's interest to fuck you up with girl A. Always. So, whereas if you're a guy and you're the side guy, that you don't do that. So let me explain in more detail in an easier way. So if you're dating two girls, right, then you split your time between them, and you take them on dates, or or whatever. Maybe you don't take them on dates, but you spend quality time with them. Maybe you celebrate their birthday with them. That sort of stuff. You do non stuff besides just having sex. Generally, obviously maybe it might mainly be sex. Maybe the girls just come over and you talk to them for 30 or 40 minutes, and then you have sex and they leave. But you still have that time with them. Now, so you have a certain amount of time available to you and a certain amount of energy. And so, if you're seeing more than one girl, then they can't get as much of your girl time because some of your girl time is shared with the other girl. Now, on the other hand, if you're if you're a girl and you're dating two guys and you've got your main guy, let's say, and you have your number two guy, your number two guy. Oh, wait, okay. Let me back up again. So what often happens, that guys experience this all the time. They're dating, even if they're not dating multiple girls, the girl will start leaving stuff at their house. She'll leave some shampoo. She'll leave some underwear. She'll leave, a toothbrush. Gradually, she'll leave some clothes because she stayed over and then she wore something different the next day. So you'll end up with girl stuff at your house. And then you're just and then a lot of times guys get in trouble for this because they don't notice this. In fact, we had a guy, he had a girl over and there was a lipstick on the table and he picked up and was like, "Oh, this is yours." And it wasn't hers.
Oh, yeah. That.
Right. Okay, now, and of course, with girls this girl, she's all pissed off and, because basically she's like, "Oh, shit, he's spending time with another girl when he could have been spending that time, energy, money on me. He's spending it on this other girl."
And also it's kind of worse in this situation because from her perspective, she's like, he doesn't even know that I'm different from her. And that's and fair enough. Right. I mean, yeah,
that's a really, really bad mistake. But don't get me wrong. I've done worse. Definitely, yeah. I've done worse.
Yeah.
So now let's switch over to the girl situation. So in the case of the guy who's dating two girls, it's both girls are trying to catch him out. Both girls are doing the same shit, leaving stuff, calling him at annoying times, all sorts of stuff to, wanting to see him suddenly, showing up at his house maybe. Now, with the guy, on the other hand, if there's a girl and she is seeing two guys, and let's say she has like, her number one guy or main guy, maybe it's a boyfriend, maybe it's a husband, maybe it's just a guy that she's been seeing for a while. And then she's seeing you. Now, as the number two guy, you're not thinking, oh man, I wish, she would spend the night at my house all the time. And I wish that she would, that I could spend more money on her and that we could go on trips together. I mean, maybe you are. Or maybe you're thinking, wow, she's really busy with this other guy, so she only can meet me for like 4 hours every week for a bang session, and then she leaves, or I go over there. And then you don't have any incentive to like catch her out because you're like, this is perfect. I just have this girl who shows up, and she fucks me, and then she leaves, and I don't have to deal with any of the annoying bullshit. I don't have to deal with all the messaging. I don't have to take her out for her birthday. I don't have to do any of that stuff. And so you're like trying to help her cover everything up. And so this is, I think, the real reason why people think that guys are the big cheaters and girls are not. It's like girls, the guy, the side guy, the second guy, the third guy, they're all just, they're definitely helping her. I mean, I guess you get your occasional guy who wants the girl all to himself.
I think that's pretty common with guys who have like scarcity of women, right? Because they're like, oh, if I don't lock this girl down, I mean, maybe I won't get another chance.
Yeah, that's true. But I think that normally the type of guy that a girl has as a second guy. Yeah,
that's true. He's not. That's definitely true. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So I guess this is rather uncommon among guys who are in that position.
Right. It's very rare that if you're the number two guy, you're just thinking, oh, it'd be so great if I had her all to myself.
Yeah.
Normally you're just like, oh, thank God she doesn't give me a bunch of fucking problems.
Yeah. But I guess in a lot of situations, the main guy is trying to catch the other guys, right? Like the 500 Days of Summer situation.
Well, maybe it's the Eddie Murphy situation where the guy is like, oh, she's busy tonight with her friends. That means I can go out and get me some, although he's probably not successfully getting some.
Right.
In his mind, he's like out there having this opportunity.
Right.
Whereas she's definitely.
We heard about a situation like this recently.
Did we?
Oh, we did. We don't know if it's true or not. But.
Oh, well, there's actually, why don't we talk about the blue situation? Because similar, right?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So,
I mean, do you want to talk about that, or do you want to talk about the original topic? We're going on another tangent, I guess, if we talk about this.
Okay. Well, maybe we could save that for the next.
Yeah, sure. That'd be because that's a whole other thing, and it's a good thing to talk about for sure. I think that's really good because I think a lot of guys will dig themselves into that hole. So stay tuned for next podcast.
Okay. So relationship management. So that's the first thing. As a guy, you have to understand that the girls are trying to get as much out of you as they can. They really are going to try and just take all your time, all your energy, and spend all your money.
How to get all you can out of what
how to get everything you can out of how to get everything you can out of all you've got.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
How to get everything you can out of all you've got. Right. Exactly. So that's the first thing, is that like a lot of guys, they think that if they communicate to the girl that they're seeing other women, then the girl's going to be like, oh, I understand. This isn't like serious. So it's fine. Now I'll tell you, generally what happens is either the girl just fucking disappears immediately and won't see you anymore.
Or she will like gradually disengage.
Right.
Or she just won't engage anymore. Like she'll just keep it at that same level. And that's and guys think, whoa, this is great. It's just the same as it always was. But that's kind of bad because it means she's looking for other options. Because girls want to be emotionally engaged with the guys they're seeing. I mean, unless they have some kind of problem.
Especially Asian girls.
Yeah. They really want to be emotionally engaged with the guys they're seeing. So if it's like flatlining, or if it's like the engagement is growing like down, that neither of those is good in terms of maintaining the relationship. I mean, if you don't want to maintain the relationship, like with HB Fist of the North Star, then it's fine.
Yeah, if you don't care if she leaves,
Yeah.
then, you could just make more and more demands of her until she just can't take it anymore.
Yeah.
I'm not a baby. No, you're not. You're a dog. Put this leash on.
See, this is what I'm talking about. All the to quote 50 Shades of Grey, kinky fuckery comes out of you.
Shades of black.
Kane, what did you think when you signed up to have Red Pill Q teach you about dating, and then you were subjected to
Well, here's the
this?
thing. He's rolled out all of this stuff slowly over the years. He was a lot less perverted when I first met him.
Were you just appalled when he started teaching you this film?
Well, he told me it was normal. I just thought I was going to learn how to have good relationships with sweet women.
Yeah.
Just one day, I looked around and it was just chaos.
That's how I feel, bro.
Oh, man.
I wish I could say I was joking in that. Red Pill Q is a nice, sweet boy.
It's libel and slander. I will not accept this behavior anymore from the two of you. You guys are fired.
It looks like the Dom sub dynamic is crawling into Pickup Asia.
Looks like Donald Trump is here.
Fine. Yeah, in case you're wondering, you can't actually get fired from Pickup Asia.
You can't actually get hired either.
Yeah. Oh man. Okay. So right. So it's really important to understand that that if girls are going to stick around, this is what McConnell was just saying, then there has to be some kind of forward progression in the relationship, generally speaking. Not every time, but if there is no forward progression, then there is like some kind of time, limit. That's
you want it to look like an exponential curve. That's what you want it to look like. You don't want it to look like a logarithmic graph.
Okay, don't. You guys, I thought you guys were a bunch of fucking nerds. Anyway, let's get back to. Let's talk about chicks. So that's the first thing you have to understand is that when you're seeing multiple as a guy, if you're seeing multiple girls, the girls need to feel that there is some forward progression if you want to keep them around, and also they are going to be trying to get as much from you as they possibly can. And for girls, and actually, I guess it's so weird because I'm not used to normal guys, but I guess you're right. For girls, it's like that too. Like, in I don't know, what are we going to call in Canada?
Oh, HB.
See, normally, whenever I think of McConnell's girl, I'm like, oh, let's call her HB flat and skinny, but then it could be any girl.
Yeah. Oh, HB long time.
Well, why don't you explain where that name came from? Because that's a great story.
Well, so I asked this girl when the last time she had sex was, and she said, "Well, I'm like a partial virgin now." I said, "Partial virgin?" I was like, "Wow, it must have been a really long time since you last had sex." She's like, "Yeah, it was a really long time." And I said, "How long?" She said, 3 months. And I was, very confused. And then she said, well, 3 months is a really long time for me. So there you go. A girl who really loves sex.
Does she?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I mean, because she was in the hard pounding club, wasn't she?
No, not really, actually.
Oh, okay. I mean, I wasn't there, so I don't.
Yeah,
really know.
It wasn't really the hard pounding club.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Good. Glad to hear it.
Yeah.
So
thank God for that.
So HB Long. What was that, Kane?
Said thank God for that.
Yeah. In case people think she's some bar worker, different long time.
Okay. Right. Not that long time.
Right.
It's okay. HB long time. So So HP Longtime, I guess she is really bad at managing guys. Actually, girls are generally bad at managing guys, aren't they? Well, I guess the girls who are bad at it, you find out pretty quickly.
Yeah, I think it's like a selection bias sort of thing,
Right?
Where you or survivorship bias or whatever.
Yeah.
Where you only notice the ones where it's like really bad.
Right. Because when it's really bad, they just like really fuck.
I have a question for you. Who do you think was the girl you dated who was the best at managing?
Ooh, I know the answer to this already.
Really? Who?
The good old French experience.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Oh,
yeah, she had top-notch skills. Yeah,
that's pretty good.
Yeah,
I mean, and
right.
not only did she manage 2 or more guys, but she shut you down.
She shut me down.
Yeah,
Oh.
She did the same thing
Yeah,
you were just
that's
talking
right.
about, where she was trying to wreck your setup with the girls.
Right. Not
She
only
pulled
did
it
she
off.
try,
Yeah.
I mean, I certainly, it was also, I also, it was my fault as well.
Let's just say all the evolutionary psychologists just clicked like at that top performance.
Yeah.
Excellent form.
Yeah.
10 out of 10.
Yeah,
Raise the signs.
It's true. Yeah. Good call, Kane. Yeah. So she was definitely the best. I mean, she's consistently been good. I mean, she, with other guys as well. I mean, it's.
Yeah, I remember some of the stories you told.
Right.
Maybe we should do a podcast just about that. I mean, about her like management strategies and all.
Maybe we could get her on the podcast to talk about it.
That'd be pretty good. Although I don't know how forthcoming she would be.
She's shy.
Oh, right. Yeah, that's right. I forgot. Have we ever met a girl who said she was shy, who actually was shy? That's a good question, right?
That is a good question. Kane, do you know any girls who said they were shy and actually were shy?
Yeah, I think I've met a few. But I mean, generally, I agree with what you're implying, that it's a lie.
Yeah. Because that's
Right,
those. I mean,
right.
yeah. I don't think there's.
It seems like the only girls who ever say they're shy are the ones who are definitely not shy. I was just talking to Ripple Q about this earlier.
Right.
HP Fist of the North Star was on all about how she was shy all the time, and then she wanted to do all these public sex acts.
And when we say public, we mean like in taxis.
Like people were literally an arm's reach away in many of these situations.
Yeah. Why don't you give the specific example of that?
In a taxi with the taxi driver right there was some fellatio taxi going on. It's like, a combination of fellatio Japan.
Wait, no, but the thing that's even funnier is that you were like taking pictures while it was happening. So he's in the back of this taxi getting a blowjob.
I had my camera.
Taking pictures.
I think
with a very shy girl.
Yeah, she was very shy.
And then the movie theater.
Yeah, and then in the movie theater. And you have to understand what's actually really funny about this is that in both of these situations, and I'm pretty open to do stuff like this. Obviously. I'm pretty fucking open to it. But in both of these situations, I was the one who was a little bit like, really? Because we were in a movie theater and there was like one chair next to me that was empty. And then there was a guy in the chair next to that chair. So there's one open seat in between us. And then there were obviously a bunch of people behind us too. And she was giving me a blowjob in the movie theater next to all these people. And I was like looking over to my right. And I was like, it was pretty strange. And then like the guy like turned a little bit and I like tried to like, I was like, trying to move,
but there's a lot to hide, right, McConnell?
So you mean the girl, right?
No, she was really small.
So I tried to like, sort of like hide the equipment and everything. And then she was like, what? She was not happy that I was trying to avoid this guy maybe causing a ruckus in the movie theater.
She was trying to get those angles in.
Yeah, but she's shy.
Yeah, it's funny. The shy girls actually are the ones that are most likely to make you shy.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So that's what I was commenting on. The question about who's actually shy.
Right.
The expert move in this situation would have been if you had a jacket or something and put it over her head.
Yeah.
Well, it's pretty hot in Taiwan. You almost never have a jacket.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah. So,
Plastic bag.
Gee, I wonder where Kane got that idea. Red
choker.
Bull Q.
Supreme choker strikes again.
Actually, I'd blame you guys for that because I would just be normal and have a jacket or something like that with me, assuming this is going to go down. And then because you guys rejected my civilized token jacket idea, I had to improvise to come up with a plastic bag.
Have you ever used a plastic bag on a girl?
No.
Supreme choker?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, I haven't, and I wouldn't.
Okay. Really?
No.
Look at Red Bull Q. He's like nudging you along. Like, you should do this dangerous thing.
Yeah, I mean, I'd get no enjoyment out of it, and the potential for it to be dangerous means I wouldn't do it.
See, that's good. That's good. It's good to know that Kane that Con Vast is a responsible citizen.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So right. Okay. So right. So relationship management. Oh man. Okay. Right. So one of the things that a lot of girls will push is they'll push to get more information about you that makes it harder for you to not like have the fact that there are multiple women like all up in their face. So, they'll like ask you a lot of details about. So first of all, if you tell them that you date multiple women, then they'll start asking you all these questions about who these women are, when you see them, what they're like, and all of this stuff. And normally a lot of guys, what they do is they go, oh, that's really cool. She's just asking me questions because she's like curious and, she's really cool and chill.
What's that children's game where you have to like guess what the other person is thinking of?
I don't know this game.
Yeah.
Are you sure this
Maybe I'm just making this
up? maybe your parents just did this to keep you distracted as a kid. They were like, just go over there and try and figure out what I'm thinking about.
I've also never heard of this game.
Okay, fair. Maybe I'll try to find this on the internet.
McConnell finds out his entire childhood was a lie.
Yeah. And Red Bull Q orchestrated it.
Yeah.
High level Ryle.
Oh, good Lord.
Anyway, but what I was trying to say is that, girl, like I was just agreeing with you.
Right.
About girls asking all these questions.
And one of the things that typically happens is they start with like a really innocuous question. And because it's like really innocuous, you're just like, oh. So I don't know if you've ever read any sales books.
Oh, you should tell that story about the leader of the old crew with.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah, that's a great one.
That's like
that's a great one. Okay,
yeah.
But before I get to that, so the what happens is right. If you've read any sales books, then you know what a yes ladder is. And a yes ladder is basically this concept that if you get someone to say yes, 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 you ask them a set of simple questions, and the answer is yes, they get in the habit of saying yes, they're more likely to say yes again. Well, girls do this shit to you all the time. They'll like ask you something. They'll be like, so, what were you doing last night? And you'd be like, oh, I was just like, hanging out at home. I'm like, oh, so what were you doing at home? And then you're like, oh, I was just like watching a movie and then the girl will be like, so what movie? And then you're like, oh, and now you're like, maybe you were actually, all this is true, but you were like with a girl. And then she's like, what movie? What movie was it? And you're like, oh, it's, this movie. And then she'll be like, so what did the other girl think about it? And you're like, oh, and then you're like caught because she sees your facial expression when she throws that fucking sidewinder at you. And you're all flustered now because you're like, oh, because you thought that she wasn't going to be thinking that. And that's like how guys often get caught. So the example that he was, that McConnell was alluding to was this guy. He was the leader of the old crew, and he was seeing this girl. There was one girl.
This is in Japan, by the way.
Yeah, this is in Japan. And she was driving him to Costco. And, you know, Costco is like really far. I mean, it's Japan, right? So things like that are big are far. So it's pretty far. You know, it take like an hour to get there on a train or something. So they're, you know, driving out there and they're in the car. And she's like, so, you know, are you seeing anybody else? And he was like, and she's like, if you are, it's fine. You could tell me. Like, it's cool. Like, you know, I mean, it's no big deal. You could just tell me if you're seeing, you know, other people. You know, it's not a big deal. And he was sitting there in the car. He's thinking, yeah, that would be great if I could just tell her the truth and just be open about it. And, you know, then it would be really like chill and, you know, and I wouldn't have to like cover things up anymore. And, you know, just make everything like, you know, much better, and just being to be like open about it. That would be so much more comfortable. And then, you know, he was like thinking to tell her, and then he was like, no, that's a bad idea. No, that's definitely a bad idea. Okay, now I'm not telling her. So he's like, no, I'm not seeing anybody else. I don't know what you're talking about. And she was like, good, because if you were, I would have kicked you out of this car and make you walk home.
Yeah.
So this is not uncommon that girls will do this sort of thing where they'll be like, yeah, it's fine. You know, we're not, you know, we're just hanging out, you know, it's nothing serious. You know, I don't want anything serious. And they'll like lull you into this false sense of security.
Yeah. And the weird thing about these kind of questions is that like the girl, I think you put it really well in one of the chats recently. You said, the girl wants to know because she wants to know, but she actually doesn't want to know.
Right. I was trying to think of another example like this, but the best I could think of is like, the reality is that like girls oftentimes don't like really big dicks, but you don't actually want to know that she's been with a guy who has a bigger dick than you. Right? I mean, it's just kind of a similar thing, you know, in terms of not wanting to know something because it doesn't really help. But you want to know?
I'm not in this camp.
Really?
I mean, I always assume that all the other guys are bigger.
Yeah, but you're a weirdo, right?
Aren't we all on this
Except
podcast?
For me.
Yeah. You know, Kane used to be normal before he met you.
Yeah, that's true.
And me too, actually.
Yeah, Kane met a girl at a club in Istanbul, and then when he was there traveling, and then he had her move to Australia to live with him and his mom.
Who do you think you learned that from?
Okay. Yeah, right, because I knew Kane when he was 20.
So, no, really, that's the thing. I believed in romance, and I'm making very romantic decisions about my true love. It was romantic.
Well, you believe in true love now.
Yeah, but now it's the scummy version of true love.
Oh, that could be a good like reality show, Scummy True Love.
You might just follow people around Pattaya, fucking filming them to a documentary style, all the way from when they meet some girl to when they get scammed and spend all their money on it.
That would be pretty good. That's a good idea.
That's
Kane, you want a new project?
It would be interesting.
Wow. Okay. Well, I think we've got a video project for September. Right? Another video project. McConnell already had one video project. Now he's getting two.
Yeah. It could be also interesting to do a podcast on riling at some point.
That's a great idea.
But actually, seriously, that could be really interesting if we just like interviewed a bunch of dudes in Pattaya.
Yeah, I'm actually not opposed to that. I think
that would be a great idea. I remember once I was at a go-go and there was one time I was at it. There was once, and I was talking to this guy started chatting me up. It was this white guy who was in his maybe 50s or something, and he was telling me about how he was like, oh, I was so in love with this girl, man, and she stole $100,000 from me, man, and like he had bought her a business and he bought a house and it was like under her name, and then I guess she was seeing some Thai guy, and so. This is a common story, by the way. So anyway, but anyway, he was seeing some Thai guy, and then like I guess she started a fight with him, and then he got all. Maybe she was just like, I'm fucking some other guy. What do you think about that? Because girls will say shit like that, and then when you get all fucking angry, then they all I'm scared, so they call the cops, and then the cops came and they fucking dragged him out of the house and arrested his ass.
Oh shit.
So if we get a couple of it'd be interesting to interview these kind of guys. Really serious cautionary tales. Tales from the, no, I don't know. Anyway, so, right. So back to relationship management. Right. So girls will try to like ask you lots of information. So generally what you should do, and guys are guilty of this too. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying most of what I'm talking about is applicable for girls that are dating multiple guys too. The thing is that you should not give you should try and keep things as ambiguous as possible, and not give really specific information. So this one guy, he told one girl the full name of his other girl so that she could look this girl up on Facebook. It's like, don't do that. Like, you don't.
I saw this. It's fucking mind blowing. It's been, I think, 36 hours or so since I read that, and I still don't understand. I'm still trying to understand how you can mentally do that.
Dad, can I play with that lighter? Yeah, sure, son. Here.
It's not even that. It's like,
there's a haystack over there. Play with it in the haystack.
Here's how you can burn yourself with it. The most
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't even know, but it's probably one of these situations where she asked a few innocuous questions, like, how did you meet? And it's like, oh, well, I met her, at the bookstore or whatever. Oh, okay. And what was your first date like? And this is the kind of question where this is a great example of a question that can really fuck you up. You think it's just like, oh, it's no big deal. We did this. And she's like, what? You did that with her? And with me, all you did was, and then you're like, oh, fucking, it's an entire shitstorm.
I had a pretty funny way of handling this. I thought about posting this in the chat, but I just forgot or whatever. So with
lazy,
with one of my girls, I think it was HB, skinny nurse.
Oh yeah, okay.
And she was asking me about the name of like one of the Thai girls I had dated before. Mm-hmm. And so what I did is she's like, what was her name? I really want to know her name. So I was like, why? Why do you want to know her name? Like, what's the point? She kept on me about it. So I was like, this would be really good. I gave her real first name, but Thai girls all use a nickname. Thai people all use nicknames. Right. I gave her real Thai first name, which is really long, right? And there's no way that she was going to remember it.
That's pretty good.
And then after that, she was just like, oh.
That is really good.
Yeah. Yeah. For those who don't know, Thai people usually use nicknames, and they usually have an English name or a shortened version of their Thai name, but their real names are quite long, or they can be quite long.
Right. Can you give an example of a real Thai name?
Let me think of one. Hold on. There's a.
Okay. So while he's doing that, So what he said is a great example where the girl asked him, what's the girl's name? And he's like, well, why do you want to know that? And so that's always a good thing to do, is instead of just starting off answering the questions about, your dating life with other people or potentially with other people, just, always start by asking why they're asking that. And this could even be if you're not dating multiple girls, but they're asking about your ex or something, because girls can get really upset about your ex-girlfriends too, even though the girl's fucking gone.
Okay, so I got one. There's a famous Thai director. I was trying to think of his name, but of course I couldn't come up with it. Anoka Suichakonpong. Okay. I probably butchered that, but an example of a
Thai first name.
Well, that's his full name, but still it's a long, yeah.
So it's when they start asking you a bunch of questions or any questions, you should immediately start thinking well, you should start wondering,
how am I going to be scammed here?
Right, exactly. Why are they asking me this?
Basically, anything in relation to Thailand where someone wants something from you, potentially, just think that.
Right, but I would say that this is. I mean, this is
worldwide.
Worldwide.
What's his name?
We're discussing Thailand right now.
Pitbull.
Oh, Pitbull, Mr. Worldwide.
Yeah.
It's the same for Thailand too, right? Someone recently was telling me the story about they got scammed in some way, and they said initially I should have just thought, this is a scam, they're going to scam me. But I didn't, and then I just got fucked over. And you could see in the progression of their story, there was an exact point where they should have gone, oh, this is going to be a scam.
Yeah. If you ever played chess before, like anyone who's played chess has like moments where someone makes like a move and they're like, wait a second, why is he doing that? And you got to always be careful. Like that's like everything girls ask you. Wait a second. What is this for?
Right.
Why is she letting me just take the queen?
Yeah, it's really true. So when you're involved with a girl, and like I said, this happens with girls who are dating guys also. I mean, I'm not saying guys don't do this. I just don't date guys, so I don't really have this problem. But girls, they will ask you questions about your past, and you think that they're asking because they just want to know about you. But actually what they're doing is they're collecting. They're like fucking Sherlock Holmes, and they're like collecting pieces of information. And they're going to actually, it's more like Columbo.
Yeah.
People may not know who Columbo is, but Columbo was like this, it was a TV show, and he was a lawyer, and he would basically ask the person on the witness stand a bunch of like seemingly unconnected questions that seemed totally innocuous. But because of the information that he did have, he knew that if he had those pieces, he could like put it all together into a coherent picture. And Columbo always played like he kind of was like incompetent, and he looked kind of sloppy, and like he didn't really know what he was doing. And so, girls often do that. They just seem like they're sweet and curious, and they just want to get closer to you. But really what they're trying to do is, they're really what they're trying to do is box you in, and exactly. They're trying to box you in.
Who knows about that?
Wow, I learned it from the best girls. So they try. Yeah, they really try and box you in and get you into a situation where you're like, and the weird part is all they do is then they're just angry at you. And then the craziest part is they still want to date you, but they're angry.
And then they'll make references to that information like over and over. It's like a broken record. Like you like give them one piece of information, and it's like for years you're like done. She's like, what about so-and-so? Do you just with so-and-so? Do you take so-and-so to this restaurant? What about this movie? Do you watch it with her? Wonder how I know that.
Oh man. Right. So it's very important not to get in the habit of giving out lots and lots of information to people when you're dating about other people that you are or have dated in the past. So it's not that you can't, but you just need to be very careful about it. In fact, in general, I encourage guys to ask information about girls. But the reason why I encourage that is mostly so you have some idea of what her behavior tends to be like. So, for example, if you meet a girl and you know that she slept with, 60 guys or so, or let's use so how many guys have you been with? Like 100? And the girl says, something like that. This actually did happen to one of the guys. The girl says that, it doesn't mean that she's a bad girl or anything, but it means she has a habit of sleeping with people and then moving on. And so it doesn't mean that she's going to do that, but don't be surprised when, you try and see her again and she doesn't want to see you. Right. So that's really the point about getting their relationship history is more about understanding their patterns of behavior. It's not about judging them or using that information against them or whatever. Or at least it shouldn't be. So that's really a really key point about dating multiple people. So you want to control a lot more. And I mean, when I say control a lot more, I mean, you want to control the information flow a lot more. And part of the way you control that is by actively giving information, so that instead of them being the ones who are trying to get information from you, you're giving the information. And by that way, you're sort of controlling the narrative. So that's what I mean. You want to sort of control the narrative.
Yeah. And also there's that book, The Female Brain, which I read it like after I did a boot camp. Like
I think that a certain stage would
we know what Sage is saying.
I'm sure, Sage, you'd say something like, I'm sure it's a rather short book.
He would also say, oh man, I can't think of the word. He would say the title is a bit of an oxymoron. That's probably a pretty accurate sageism. Anyway, that book is pretty good. I think maybe it's possible. I think someone was telling me that there's like another book that's better than that now, because that book is about maybe 10 or 12 years old or something now. But I read that a long time ago.
I bet Red Pill Philosopher told you about a book that's better.
Probably. Anyway, so one of the good things about that book is the way the book is laid out is it talks about what the female brain is like at each stage of development. So like, when they're babies, when they're like infants, when they're, teenager, like adolescents and teenagers and then adults. And one of the things the book talks about is how women, when they're babies, they develop much, better facial recognition. So they can recognize like micro expressions much better than men can. And I think this is one of the tools that women just unconsciously have available to them, where they can like really spot if you're like not being congruent or you're, micro expressing, that you're like lying or being skeezy, they can hone in on it.
Right. So that's why instead of micro expressing skeeziness, just express it full on.
Exactly.
Amplify that shit.
Yeah, exactly. But I think a lot of time guys think, well, people think they can get away with things a lot of times, and you should just assume that you can't.
Right. I mean,
and set things up so that it doesn't harm you.
Right. I think, that's kind of the key point is, you have to be really proactive in managing your relationships if you're dating multiple people, because if you're not proactive, things like this will happen. Like, if you don't message girls, then they'll like message you. And then if you're with somebody else and you don't message them, then, they'll call you. And for example, they might call you or they might drop by your house or, whatever, which also happened to the guy I was talking about where, actually I'll tell this story. He had one girl, he had scheduled two girls. I think that's what happened. Anyway, he scheduled two girls, so he needed to like cancel on one. So he told her, I'm sick. So then he had the other girl over at his place, and he had a small place. It was like a 1-room apartment, which is quite common in Japan. And so he's with this one girl in bed, and then he hears this knock on the door. I brought you soup. Because she thought, well, we don't really know, because she might have thought maybe he's with another girl and I'm going to catch him. Or she might have really just been, trying to be nice and sort of not naive and, that sort of thing. We don't really know. But, then the girl that was in the bed with him was like, she's like, who is that? Who is that? And he's like, shh, be quiet, be quiet. And the girl's like, hello, I brought you soup. And she's like, who's that? Who's that? He's like, shh, be quiet. He's like trying to cover the girl's mouth and shit. Like this kind of stuff happens. And like I said, it could happen because the girl is trying to catch you. Or it can also be that the girl like uses this pretext of her being really nice and considerate so that she can catch you. It can go both ways. And only based on the girl that you're dating, which one it is. But, so you have to – so what happens is that you have to anticipate that girls are going to want attention from you. And you have to be sure to give them attention proactively when you're available, so that when you're not, it's not so obvious that you're suddenly not available. So, and that also means that you have to proactively not give them attention sometimes when you are available, so that if they do flip out on you and they're like, oh, I can't reach you, blah, 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 you can be like, hey, what's going on? Why are you freaking out? Because there's going to be times when you're with a girl and you can't do that. And if it's always that, then it becomes pretty obvious that you're trying to cover something up. So like I said, this is the same. Girls have to do the same thing, because it's not, and some people might say, oh, you shouldn't be as deceptive, blah, blah, blah. But the fact of the matter is that, if I'm seeing a girl and, and she's also seeing somebody else, which is, not uncommon, I don't want to actually know. I'm just hitting her up because I want to talk to her or whatever. And I don't actually want to know the details. And she's like, sorry, I'm getting railed by this other guy right now, but, I can come and meet you after. It's like, I don't really want to know that. Although sometimes you find out about that, even when you don't want to know.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a great one. Why don't you tell that one?
Which story?
HB cake or knife. Remember?
Oh, yeah. I know what you're talking about. So I there was this girl, and it was pretty early one morning. Like, it was maybe like 9 a.m., 10 a.m., something like that. And I was up, and she messaged me. It must have been like a Sunday or something. She messaged me, and she was like, "Oh, hey, are you at home?" And I was like, "Oh, yeah, I'm just like, hanging out, doing whatever." And she said, "Oh, I'm like in your area. Can I come over? Can we meet up or something?" And I was like, "Yeah, you can come over." So she came to my house, and she like got in, and she was in like this really sexy dress, like it's like a party dress, right? And she's like, "Oh, I'm just gonna take a shower. Hold on." She went to take a shower, and then she comes out, and then we had sex, and then after sex, we were just like talking about random things, and she was like, "Oh, when was the last time you had sex?" And with this girl, I'm pretty straightforward about things, so I just told her whatever the answer was, and it was probably like a week prior or something like that. And she's like, "Oh, okay." And I said, "What about you?" And she's like, "Well, oh, sorry." So she had actually brought this up before we had sex. Yeah, she'd brought this up before we had sex. And then I had asked her, she'd asked me when I had last sex, and I told her. And then I said, "When was last time for you?" And she said, "Oh, I'll tell you later." I said, "Okay." So we had sex. And then after, I was like, "So when was the last time?" Because I knew it was an answer like that, it's probably going to be pretty good. She said, "Well, I'm the kind of person who, if I have sex and it's not good, I like need to go have good sex, even if it's just right after." And I was like, "Okay, so when was the last time you had sex?" And she's like, "Oh, last night." She's like, "But the guy was really bad, so I decided to come see you this morning." So there you go.
Yeah. So, sometimes you just don't want to know these things, even though, McConnell, you didn't really like care, right?
I don't care. I don't have a thing. Like, I think for a lot of guys, if they would hear that, they'd be like, "She's such a slut." But I just think she's a normal girl. She just wanted to have good sex. I've definitely been there before.
Yeah. So
I just don't have as many girls available to me as she does, guys.
Or like, in my experience, this happens, I've dated a good number of girls that have a boyfriend. So, they'll like tell me, when they had sex with their boyfriend.
I think arguably it's worse in your situation, because in this situation, there's like some level of, I don't know. It's just, in your situation, it just seems a lot more comical for whatever reason.
I'm glad you find it comical.
To me, not to you, but
like the girl was like, "Oh, I had so much sex this week." And I was like, because I'd only had sex with her like twice, or like, she's like, "Yeah, my boyfriend had sex with me last night and this morning, and now I just had sex with you." And I was like, "Okay, well then, thanks for sharing that information." And so that's another thing. Don't ask questions you don't want to. I didn't ask, by the way. But in general, don't ask questions that you don't want to know the answer to. Like, I'm serious about this, because guys will be like, "It's okay if I ask her because she's like a nice, sweet girl. So I'm sure she never did something like that before."
Dante!
How many dicks have you sucked? How many?
Right, shut up a second and I'll tell you. Jesus, I didn't freak out like this when you told me how many girls you fucked.
This is different. This is important. How many?
And they ask, and the girl tells them the truth. And then the guy's like, "Oh," and he's like shocked. And he's like, "What?"
We should link the Clerks.
Fucking whore.
Exactly. Yeah, there's that in Clerks.
We'll just link it.
Great. Yeah, we'll put the scene. Yeah, that's yeah. So anyway, this was kind of just random thoughts about relationship management. I talk about this a lot in the relationships mastery seminar, and there's a lot more stuff to cover. But those are like some basic things that I think basic mistakes that most people make with with girls. Now, there's one other thing, and I've already said this in one way, but not really explicitly. Girls are going to try and get more from you. So, you have to be aware of that. And you have to understand that that's just because they like you and they want to spend more time with you. And you can't think of them as, oh, why is she being so annoying? She's not being annoying. She just likes you.
Yeah, and the other thing is that what makes that easier to deal with is if she wants to get more out of you, then try to get her to do things that make you more into her too. So at least it's mutual. At least you're both getting what you want out of the relationship.
Absolutely. Kane, do you have anything that you want to add?
Not currently, no.
All right. Well, I guess we can wrap this one up. And then next time, I guess we can tell some HB French stories.
Yep.
And some blue stories.
That's be a good podcast.
Shades of Blue. Is that what?
Yeah, 50 Shades of Blue.
What was the movie that you saw with
More Than Blue?
More Than Blue. Oh, that's right. HB More Than Blue.
Yeah, there we go.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks for joining us, guys, and we will see you next time.